Hello, Dscoopers. Our guest today needs no introduction. None whatsoever. Just seeing her is enough to know exactly who we're talking to. It is the Deborah Corn.
The Deborah Corn.
Yes, you have the in front of your name.
Thank
the
you.
Deborah Corn.
Thank you.
So welcome to Unvarnished.
I'm really excited to be here.
Excellent. So, as you know, we kind of invited you in for this particular episode to talk about creatives and brands. And I know you have some history with creatives and brands, and that you actually, I think your career started in the agency world.
Correct. It actually started at a place called Katz Media Corporation that sold advertising space to radio. I started in the radio division, and I was working with salespeople. And at that point in time, like, it was like my first job after college, and it was like, you have to keep it for a year. Like, there was no hopping around. And one thing I knew for sure is that there was no way in hell I wanted to be a salesperson, and that pretty much I didn't want to be around them either. They were a little too much for me. And one day walking through the corporation, there was a little sign that said, "Hey, we're looking for a production assistant in the corporate communications department." And I was like, "What's corporate communications?" And I went down there and I opened the door, and there's music playing and people are in shorts. And this is like after coming from like everybody's like buttoned up like this in suits and ties. And I was like, I don't know what goes on in here, but this is the place for me. And I ended up working there for a while. And then I moved over to a traditional advertising agencies where I stayed for over 25 years. And I've worked at brands, I've worked in corporations, and I started off in traffic, which is like I always say, it's like the oil in the machine. It keeps everything moving along. And then from there, I moved into production, print production. Broadcast production was completely separate at that point. Then the internet advertising came along. So I became an integrated producer because I could do online and offline, and worked my way up to director of production. And that was my last title before the last time I lost my job in advertising.
Nice. Now, I know your current life is sort of you living as sort of the bridge between print and creatives. At least that's part of what you do, and part of your passion, if I'm not wrong. Tell me a little bit about, how you fell into that, like how you fell into being that connector.
I was, like I said, I worked in advertising agencies for 25 years, and my entire experience with print was through my printers. Print producers don't go to, every once in a while we'd like go to like a packaging show at Javits, and it would just be like, oh my God. And we were just like there to steal samples. That was really it. We never really got involved with technology or anything like that. And when I moved into Print Media Center and let's say life on the dark side of things on the other side, the first time I went to a print show, the first aisle I walked down, the first booth I ran into, it was actually FESPA came to United States one time, and it was co-located with Graphics of the Americas in Orlando, Florida. And I went to that show, and in the first row, in the first booth was Roland. And they had a wide format printer, and it was printing out metallic ink. And I stopped, and I was like, oh my God. Where has this been all my life? When did this happen? Blah, blah. And the guy looked at me like I was out of my mind. And he said, this has been around for like 5 years. And I was like, what? I swear, I'm not even kidding. I walk to the next booth. I see something and I'm like, oh my God, where has this been all of my life? And they tell me it's been out for so many years, whatever. And walking through that show, I realized something kind of important, which was that my entire experience with capabilities and understanding possibilities was through my print partners, and conversations like, oh, you don't want to do that, or you don't want to do it that way, started making more sense to me as I was walking down the aisle, because more than likely, well, not more than likely, it proved to be true that why would somebody who sells something for a living suggest something they don't have or can't offer you, even though it might be better for you? So I like to use the examples, you go to go buy a Jeep, and the salesperson is like, psst, there's actually a Volvo down the street that would be much better fit for everything you're telling me. Why in God's name would they do something like that? So it doesn't make printers bad people, but it makes them good salespeople, and they want to keep people sticky. But I realized at that point in time, digital advertising was really, getting hot and heavy, and all the stupidity of is print dead started, coming up all over it. And part of the reason that question was able to be asked was because the buyers were not buying as effectively and efficiently as they could and generating the creative and business results they wanted through their printing and marketing, because they were beholden to the freaking processes and equipment of their print partners, who, again, I'm not saying are bad people, but I'm saying that at this point now, when someone's weighing, do we need to do this annual report anymore, or can we just make a PDF? Why are we sending these mailings when we could just send email? That is not because print is an ineffective medium. It's because whatever the message is, whatever process or technique or whatever's going on, there wasn't enough to connect it with the recipient, who could be a consumer, it could be a customer of a business, it could be a colleague, an internal communication. It didn't matter. So through Print Media Center, as I started going to more of these shows, as I started meeting with and talking with, more printers, I was able to, let's say, help them translate the actual benefits of what they do into print customer brain. For example, our press goes 92 meters a minute in B3. And I'm like, dude, no. All you need to tell me is that we've got a brand new piece of printing technology here that will get your work out to the market faster. That's all I need to know. I'm not about to build one. And B2, B3, B9, I still don't know what that means. I just know it's big, right? So just give me a visual. You could print posters. You could print, just give me a visual. So that is how I sort of became this, let's say, connector of, and it's not really, printers don't need help connecting with customers. But what I try to do is I try to help them understand more of how the customers will be receptive of what they're trying to sell, or more importantly, how they really can help them. But the point is that the customers aren't just going to listen to sales pitches all day long. They're not going to listen to useless email outreaches. Hey, what you got going on next week? It's like, who in God has time for that, right? Or just, I was just wondering if you'd like to have a conversation, or, we think we could help you with this, but it's not anything that they do. So I found a way where I could be my authentic self and bring that not literal firsthand knowledge, as well as my still connection to all of those, all the customers, to the industry, and help everybody work in a more collaborative way, which is how Project Peacock came about. It's a print customer education program, not to sell them on any one process or way of doing things, but to let them know about all the possibilities that are out there. I like to put the ingredients on the table and say, you make something with them. A lot of times the industry is like, we've got this new thing and this is how you use it. And the last thing you ever want to tell, if you never want a creative or a production person to use something that you have, tell them exactly how they have to use it. And it becomes a whole, no, I don't have to use it that way. So that is, I think, the answer that, you know, to the question, although it seems like it was like 20 minutes ago.
No, it's interesting. Can we talk more about Project Peacock? For those who don't know what it is, can you describe what it is? And and a little bit more, Deborah, what have you learned about that maybe you didn't expect to learn or think about through the process of Project Peacock?
Okay, I think I'd like to start with the end first, because I think that what I've learned is that I was right. And I think that that's really important. And what I was right about was that the printers often regurgitate reasons why they buy technology to their print customers as the value propositions. They use they use their business value propositions, and they present them to the customers as if I would, like I said, I don't care how many meters a minute it goes. I need it interpreted to why it matters to me. But the biggest epiphany really happened when a worldwide marketing director, who will not be named, from one of the manufacturers came to Project Peacock, and they were just like, I don't understand. How is it possible that the print customers don't know anything that's going on in the printing industry? And I said, this was her company was part of Project Peacock. I was like, go stand next to that poster you have there with the white ink and just stand there. I was like, don't do anything else. And she did. And I don't even think 10 minutes later, she came up to me and she was like, oh my God. Everybody walked up to that poster and couldn't believe it was white ink. Actually didn't believe it was white ink. They thought it was printed solid black, and then they just left out the white. They had to prove it to people. And that was the experience at almost every single table, especially with wide format. I cannot tell you that this was like the mother lode of discovery for the print customers. They kind of think of it as just vinyl banners. They don't, unless they're in a retail buying situation or they really have a lot of experience in it, you're not really buying a lot of wide format things. But once we showed them, you could use wide format to make small things. There's cutters, and you can create amazing die cut and anything. You could use them for book covers, and inkjet, and they know about personalization, even though it scares them in the sense that a lot of files, if you start thinking you could do 5,000 different ones. I could tell you as a production person, I'm like, right away, I'm like, oh God, that sounds like something I do not want to ever do, unless there's more education about that. But we didn't really focus on the how to get it done. That was left to, if you like anything on these tables, if you've learned anything from these manufacturers, if there's any paper here or finishing or a technique that you want to do, ask these people who their customers are and contact them and do your own due diligence and choose the vendors that you want to work with. And it happened. And not only did it happen that way, it also happened that printers were like, okay, there's an awful lot of people standing around that table over there. Let me go hear and listen what they're talking about. And it did drive some equipment sales as well.
Something you mentioned, Deborah, that was really interesting is that printers can essentially have their own Project Peacock. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I thought that was really interesting.
Yes, and thank you so much for asking me about that. Open up your doors, have an open house, have a show and tell. As a matter of fact, this year, in conjunction with International Print Day, we're having Print Across America, where I am encouraging as many printers, sign shops, and implants as I possibly can to open up their doors and have an a collective open house event. So even though everyone's having their individual one, we're all part of one industry that is opening up our doors to our customers, to the community, to retail. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce, schools around you, invite people over, show them what you can do. Have design class from 1 to 3, have workforce development, come and see how easy it is to run a press, or not that it's easy, you know what I mean? Come see what it's like to run a press or to run a bindery equipment, or we have all these jobs open, and, come to our career fair, and, and just really create engagement. I heard the most amazing thing the other day, which is that the Eiffel Tower is just a lamppost with great PR, right? And if we think about print that way, we have been tossed out of the cool conversation. And I don't understand why that is, because I think print is the coolest thing. You can do the coolest things with it. But if everybody just goes by what they get in their mailbox, or what they think their grandparents are the only ones that read newspapers and magazines and things like that, if we don't show the bridge to digital, if we don't show that print could be interactive and that it is the starting point for augmented reality and many things, although we do see more QR codes on television now, it's still primarily print being that digital bridge is the most important thing. And you can use print now with voice activated devices. So I can ask I don't want to say it because it's next to me, but you can ask Alexa to make a donation to a charity by reading a prompt from a postcard. I mean, that is freaking cool. So it's up to all the printers to make like Project Peacock and show the world how cool print is, and tie that in with the coolness you can help people provide in the local areas.
It's a great idea. And that's October 25th this year. So they have time to plan for that, right?
They do. And thank you so much for asking. Print Across America is the website. And I'm actually going to create content that has ideas for open house. I know that printers are really busy. So we've already put up assets that they can send save the dates to their customers. And as we move further through the summer, we'll put up files that they can then add exactly what they're doing to the shells, so they don't have to come up with any of that. The logos are up for download. They can create swag. They can create signage. They can make T-shirts and sell them. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, my ultimate goal would have as many local news channels in that last segment, so Joe, a crazy thing happened today in Cleveland, where actually America's Print Show is having an event for Print Across America at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So people are really investing in the unity of what we're trying to do. It's one industry, and these events are for people who don't realize that they need print in their lives, and for the ones who have print in their lives already, to understand more of the possibilities out there.
With that, thank you, Deborah Corn, for being part of this. Appreciate it, as always. And what is the intergalactic way to say goodbye?
Yeah.
Print long and prosper.
Beautiful. Can you do that, Chris?
Print long and prosper.
I can't do it very well. There you go. All right. Thanks, Deborah.
Thanks, Deborah.